Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Senate Finance Committee to order. Justin, will you please call the roll?
Argel,
Proxy, aye.
Brooks.
Here.
Culver. Fontana. Haywood.
Proxy.
Miller.
Here.
Muth. Pennycook. Rothman. Ward.
Proxy,
Hutchinson.
here. Quorum having been established, we'd like to consider now our legislative agenda. First on the agenda, I call up Senate Bill 77, sponsored by Senator Michelle Brooks. This legislation amends the tax reform code by providing for a deductible family exemption from the inheritance tax of up to $100,000. I will make the motion that we move the bill, second by Senator Brooks. And Senator Brooks, would you like to be, I would like you to give us a little bit more details about your bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you had mentioned, this legislation actually aims to increase the current family exemption to $100,000. Currently, Pennsylvania is one of only 6 states that still imposes an inheritance tax. The other 5 states are Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Nebraska, and New Jersey. And I'd like to just tell a very brief story of a small family-owned business and what happened to them in regard to their business, a generational business. And back several years ago, the mother had, well, first the father had passed away, and then the mother passed away. The brother and the sister, or the son and the daughter, paid the inheritance tax when the mother passed away. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, the brother passed away. And then the sister paid the same, on the same money, inheritance tax once again. So think about that. The mother and the son and the daughter paid inheritance tax when the mother passed away. A year and a half, 2 years later, the sister then is paying inheritance tax on the same funds that the brother had acquired after his death. So I don't think anyone in this room thinks that that is fair, that people's incomes and finances are taxed 2, 3, and 4 times. And what occurred is this business almost closed because of having to pay the inheritance tax. And so with that, I think this is a very, very fair approach. I think the people of Pennsylvania would welcome it. I think they're tired of having their money taxed multiple times, and I would appreciate an affirmative vote. Thank you very much.
Senator Miller, do you wish to be recognized?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will recommend a yes vote to my colleagues and move this bill along in the process, be included in the larger budget conversations, given its budget season. I know the administration stance is neutral with concerns, but definitely want to be interested in supporting streamlining some of those tax requirements for immediate family members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else wishing to be recognized? Senator Rothman.
Yeah, I appreciate Chairman Brooks the bill, and grateful for it. The only thing I would point out is that I think it should be called a death tax, and it's remarkable that you go to work and you make money and you pay your taxes and you go home to your property and you pay your property taxes, or even if you're renting, you're paying real estate taxes on behalf of the person you're renting it from. You save up money and it grows, and you pay capital gains tax on that, and then you die, and as been pointed out, the first dollar, you end up paying inheritance tax. And this affects people who don't have children, or grandparents who want to leave it to their grandchildren, or people who want to leave it to their nieces and nephews too. So I think the death tax is, it's been recognized on the federal level that virtually nobody pays it anymore because the exemption's so high. I think it's $13.6 million, and that's per person. So while the $100,000 is going to go a long way and help a lot of people, I think we should be looking at abolishing the death tax period. But I will vote for this, and I'm grateful for your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else wishing to be recognized? Is there any negative votes on the bill?
Senator Haywood's a proxy no.
Thank you. I'll have that be recorded. Majority having voted in favor, Senate Bill 77 is reported from the Senate Finance Committee. Thank you. Next on our agenda, Senate Bill 269. This is co-prime sponsored by Senator Gephardt and Senator Brooks. This legislation amends the Tax Reform Code by establishing a state tax credit for volunteer emergency medical technicians. Under this program, eligible volunteer emergency medical technicians may claim a maximum $500 tax credit against their state tax liability. I'd now like to recognize Senator Brooks for further comments on her bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we all know that our emergency responders are becoming less and less available in our communities. We don't have as many that are volunteering or participating in this profession. And so this is just a small way, a tool in the toolbox to say thank you to those folks that are EMTs and participating in this, because they're so vital to our communities. When we call an ambulance, I think sometimes we just assume it's always going to be there. Or we call the local fire department, we assume they're always going to be there. And I do think that from the state level, we need to continue to think of ways that we can support both of those entities. And so, in order to qualify for the tax credit, the volunteer EMT must be a resident in the Commonwealth, is an active volunteer EMT on the date they file their tax return, have at least 2 full years of service as a certified EMT by December 31st of the taxable year, and has responded to at least 20% of the company's emergency calls in that period. So I would ask for an affirmative vote, because our families and our communities most certainly need these important technicians. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to offer an amendment, number A04192. This establishes definitions and other technical changes that were requested by the Department of Revenue. I will move that, seconded by Senator Brooks. Any discussion on the amendment? Any negative votes on the amendment? Seeing none, hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Now, any other further discussion on the bill? Senator Booth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe you have this amendment that I was going to offer, it's Amendment A04175. That would make 2 important updates to Senate Bill 269. Do you want me to continue with my comments? Or do you have to read it? I don't know.
We have the amendment. I'm going to move to table the amendment, seconded by Senator Brooks.
May I continue my comments on the amendment?
Motion to
Explain
table,
what it is
motions
before
to
you
table
table it.
or not?
But no one in the public knows what it is. So, okay. My amendment would remove the current requirement of responding to at least 20% of emergency calls over a 2-year period, and replace that language requiring that a certified EMT volunteer have at least 144 hours during the calendar year. In our conversations with stakeholders, it was brought up that you can be volunteering at a station, putting several hours in a week, and by no chance, no calls come in when you are working or volunteering. By only requiring eligibility to be tied to what amounts to at least one 12-hour shift per month is more attainable for EMTs, and also it is easier to track. My amendment also increases the amount of the tax credit from the current $500 to $2,500. I have indicated several times in committee meetings and on the Senate floor that regardless of whether or not they're paid or volunteer, there needs to be some compensation that's actually fair for volunteers and all of our first responders. And this would be a more equitable way of actually compensating these volunteers, and we really shouldn't have to be relying on volunteers to do this work, but if we are, allowing a larger amount for the tax credit would certainly help incentivize others to step forward to volunteer. Obviously, you're going to table it, but my amendment is supported by the Ambulance Association of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Fire and Emergency Services Institute.
Thank you for your description. Justin, will you call the roll on the motion to table?
Argel,
Proxy, yes.
Brooks. Culver. Fontana. Haywood. Miller. Muth. Pennycook. Rothman. Ward.
Proxy, aye.
Hutchinson.
Aye. Amendment is tabled. We now move to consideration of the bill as amended with Amendment A04192. We have any further discussion on the bill as amended? Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief comment. This bill is very similar to the firefighter tax credit, and would recommend a yes vote from my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I will move that the bill as amended be reported from committee, seconded by Senator Brooks. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Justin, please call the roll.
Argel,
Proxy, aye.
Brooks. Culver. Fontana. Haywood.
Proxy, yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Muth. Pennycook. Rothman. Ward.
Proxy, aye.
Hutchinson.
Aye. Majority voting in favor, Senate Bill 269 as amended is reported to the full Senate. Last bill on our agenda is Senate Bill 1149, sponsored by Senator Mastriano. This legislation amends Section 303 of the Tax Reform Code by establishing a deduction from taxable income for payments received from the state or federal government or Norfolk Southern as a result of the train derailment that occurred in East Palestine, Ohio on February 3rd, 2023. There is an amendment that I'll be offering on this bill, Amendment A04151, and seconded by Senator Pennycook. This amendment simply removes the deduction and instead states that payments shall not be considered income, similar to what was done with COVID-19 stimulus payments. I think this makes sense. We have precedent to do it this way. It's a cleaner process to just say that these payments will not be counted as income for state tax purposes, and the sponsor of the bill agrees with the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Any negative votes on the amendment? Seeing none, hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Now a motion and second. I will move, and seconded by Senator Rothman, that Senate Bill 1149 as amended be reported from the Senate Finance Committee. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Any negative votes on the bill as amended? Seeing none, hearing none, bill is passed unanimously and is reported to the full Senate. That ends our agenda for today. Thank you, everyone, and I now recess this meeting to the call of the chair. Thank you.